Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to talk about the road to the NFL. I know what you're thinking. You only have to go through the draft. You have to be great in college. You have to have all these athletes going. But there are other people fail to realize there's other roads to get to the NFL. And once you get there, it doesn't mean that all praises is due because you're carrying the football, you're throwing the football. There is operations that are just as important that keeps those players in the position to be great, an organization to be great, and to make sure that the fans are entertained. Today on the show, we have a young man whose road to the NFL is quite unique. But more importantly, is what he achieved while he was there and what he's doing after the NFL. I'd like to welcome to the show all the way from Dallas, Texas, Dr. Anthony Blevins. Did I pronounce the last name right, Doctor?
Got it right.
I don't like to mess people's name up, man. Trust me. Let's get right down to it. Give the viewers a little bit about you before we get into the question and answers on what we talked about during the pre-interview.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised. Went to actual college there, right there in the city, UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. For me, I've always been a sports junkie, whether it was football, basketball, whatever it was, track. I played all three sports in high school, and I always wanted to be in the NFL. Wanted to be a running back.
Wow.
My guy was Bo Jackson. But Bo was the man. Bo knows. Bo knows. So Bo kind of, like being a young kid, 7, 8, years old. Bo was at Auburn, just killing it. Won the Heisman Trophy. But that's what kind of got me excited about football. I wanted to be, Bo. I wanted to be, Bo Jackson.
Right.
And that's really, what kind of, started my love for the game, and watching Bo run through Brian Bosworth and, all that type stuff. And so, I engulfed myself in football, every Sunday after church, Monday night, as much as I could see out of bedtime, about 8 o'clock then. So like Monday night, like I catch the intro, maybe a couple plays here and I had to go to bed, but that was my deal, that was my thing. And as a young kid, you kind of put all your work into it. You kind of, trying to figure it out, and I started playing football. I played one year of Little League, and then I played like in the 7th grade, or actually it was 8th grade, and then kind of played, all the way through high school, college, all through there. But I kept, when I first went out, and I was probably okay, but I wasn't very good. I was just probably okay, but I kept working at it, kept believing. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and eventually it clicked. I kept working at it for about 2 years and went into high school. Started on varsity in the 10th grade and ended up getting a scholarship.
Really?
Got a scholarship at University of Alabama, Birmingham, to play running back. I was there for 1 year, and then we get a new coach. He comes in. Watson Brown was a new coach that came in. And that spring, we go through spring football, and they call me into the office Friday afternoon. Hey, like you're a talented player, but we think you can get on the field faster playing DB.
Don't that piss you off?
Hey, yeah, I've done everything in my life going forward, and then now I got to go backwards. So I meet with the coach on that's Friday afternoon. I meet with the coach on Monday, and he's trying to like kind of explain the position to me, some of the things. One of the things he said to me, he goes, just everything you did as a running back, do opposite now. Like,
right.
What does that mean? Like, what in the world does that mean?
Right.
But eventually, I figured that out too. Spent a lot of time working at it, watching tape, picking people's brains and different things like that. So I spent a lot of time just working at the game. And then I came out of college my senior year. We're playing Tennessee Tech in Birmingham, and I get kicked during the game, and I feel the pain in my leg. No big deal. Finish the game, and after the game, my leg's throbbing. And then the next week, kind of, you go get treatment, you do all the stuff that you got to do medically. I go out to practice, and at practice, I break my leg basically. Nobody touches me. I go to plan on it, and it just gives out. And I knew at that point it was broke, and so now that's my senior year. This is the
Right.
year. Your senior year is the year. Senior year of college, and so yeah, so I break my leg, and it's devastating to me. Like, it is really devastating. It's probably sends me into I wasn't clinically diagnosed, but probably in some form of depression in some ways.
So you probably had suffered a compound fracture prior to actually going back on the field, and probably evidently they must didn't diagnose it during treatment. But let's go back a little bit. You mentioned the University of Alabama, Birmingham. That's deep south, and it's not far from Albany, Georgia, where I was born.
Mhm.
I know the conditions there. I know the mindset of individuals trying to get out of a situation. What's it like in Birmingham, Alabama during that time for you?
Birmingham was good, from the standpoint of, I was born and raised there. So uh I didn't have any issues. I knew where to go, where I'd be accepted.
Right,
So I didn't have issues. Did the issues exist, the racial issues and different things, the history of the city? Yeah, it
right.
existed. The 16th Street, Baptist Church, where the bombings happened, the four little girls that were killed.
Hmm.
The shadow of the racial issues in Birmingham, they stayed there.
Okay,
Was it as overtly and open as it may have been in the 60s? No, that was not the case.
right.
But the shadows of the racism, systemic racism, it was always there.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't know, being in Birmingham now, with just trying to keeping up with the politics in Birmingham,
Hmm.
and don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but it's still there. You got the DEI that's going on across the South and Alabama, Florida, places like that. I mean, there's that stench of racism that goes on. When 2020 hit, George Floyd
Yeah.
uh, hit, you know, there were protests really all across the country, all across the world, really,
Hmm.
about some of the Confederate statues,
Right.
um, and the symbolism of those Confederate statues. So some of those statues are still, you know, up in Birmingham.
Right.
They're still up across the South, not just Birmingham, but across the South. So, you know, those things still exist even to this day. But to answer your original question, uh, like, for me, I knew, just growing up in Birmingham, you became accustomed to the mindset,
Right.
and you did what you had to do to survive.
When you
So
wind up going to UB to play football, and the scholarship was given to you, when the coach switched the game plan over to you going from a position that you like to all of a sudden having to reinvent yourself and master another position, you become a senior. You get injured, you become a senior, the injury takes place in your career, because like you said, the goal is your senior year is the year you want to shine. You want to look good to get accepted to maybe go to the combines or to have an NFL agent look. What was your mindset when you went back on the field and realized that you did suffer a broken broken leg?
I mean, I've always had the mindset of I had to be better than the next person.
Hmm.
I got to outwork the next person. So that never changed. Once I went back, it never changed.
Hmm.
It was now I have something else to prove. You know, I've got something else in my bag to motivate me.
Hmm.
That was always kind of been my mindset. Kind of, you know, you remember those moments and you use those moments as fuel. You use those moments to motivate you to something greater, to something for a greater purpose
Right.
in that. And that's always been my mindset. To this day, that's still part of my mindset. To a fault. Like some things, like I take personal. Sometimes I take a no personal. I take a rejection personal. But it's just
Fuel.
fuel. It's just fuel. And to a certain point, it's like almost like, well, regardless of what you told me, regardless you didn't like me or you didn't want me, I'm gonna show you, because I'm gonna persevere. I'm gonna push past. I'm gonna push through, and I'm gonna show you. And that's kind of my mindset, and that's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me going. Through all the no's, through all the rejection. That's what keeps me motivated. It doesn't a rejection doesn't uh, it doesn't derail me. It doesn't depress me. It doesn't stop me.
Right.
Only thing that can stop me is me.
So after you get hurt your senior year, how long did it take you to get back on the field? What wound up happening to you?
It actually ended my senior year. It ended my senior year. The break happened about week 4, week 4 of the season, somewhere in there. And so I ended up after that, I ended up playing in a league called the RFL, Regional Football League. Played there 1 year. We actually won the championship in the league. It was down in Mobile, Alabama. Had a great time. Met some really, really good friends that we're still friends to this day.
So your senior year, you suffer this major impact of your leg being pretty much injured. Now, how do you begin to move on? Because this is your senior year. Do you stay another year, or do you realize that the injury is what it is? I can't play my senior year anymore. Now I have to go back into my playbook and figure out what the next step is. Do I keep trying to pursue the NFL? What happens to you at this point?
Well, I mean, the goal never changed. Even
Okay.
though I was injured, the goal still never changed. Now you just got to figure out what's the alternative route.
I like the way you said that. How do I
You
get
know
there?
exactly. And I believe what's for you is for you. To a certain degree, like life is on a string.
Right,
Like you start here and you end here.
right,
But some kind of way, like there's ebbs and flows. Sometimes you go here, sometimes you go here, sometimes you
right,
go here. And for some people, it takes you a little longer to get to the end of the road. Where some people they just go straight. They end up straight, streamline. A couple of years, bam, it's done. No obstacles. But that's not life for most people. And for me, it wasn't life. So break my leg, and now I got to figure out the next thing. So I ended up going to play in the RFL, Regional Football League down in Mobile. Played in with some really good friends. Like I know you're talking about Dallas. Sherman Williams was on that team.
yeah,
Sherman Shea, he was on that team, and a couple other guys that played in the league. Kevin Lee. Uh, you know, I mean, just a number of people that good friends to this day. We still talk and communicate
right.
often to this day. But I played there, and then I went and ended up playing arena ball. Played in Birmingham. Played for the Birmingham Steel Dogs. Played for Bobby Humphrey was the head coach, legendary running
Oh
back for
yeah,
the
I know.
Bron
Yeah,
Dogs.
Bobby Humphrey. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So Bobby was the head coach. Really enjoyed that experience. It was different. The game was different, but I realized arena football the space is too fast and too short. The
yeah,
game too compact. And I really saw we really saw some gruesome injuries in that. Compound fractures, things like that. Guys flipping over into the stands, falling on chairs. I was like, man, this way too much for
Well,
me.
that's really because the arena our arena football team started about that time. I think they were called the Firebirds, and then they
The Firebird.
dismantled. And I remember going onto that field, and I was like, "Holy crap! This is like really the small, almost like a basketball court, and you're trying to play football, at full
Yeah,
speed. You know what I mean?"
that's exactly what it is. It's a basketball playing football on a basketball court. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And
Anthony, did you play, because you're done with college now? You're in the professional part of the football game. Did you did you ever go back to playing running back, or did the coaches keep you at DB?
I stayed at DB. Once I moved to DB, I stayed. I
It's
never
better
went
to
back.
hit
Never,
than to be hit.
correct. Yeah. But it really just kind of helped my knowledge of the game. It gave me, I had the offensive knowledge,
Right,
and then it gave me some defensive knowledge.
right,
So it really helped me on both sides of the fence, if you will. That okay, I understand offensively what teams are trying to do.
right.
I know how we want to attack this particular coverage, and defensively now it gave me the flip side of it. Like I know what we're trying to do to the offense, what kind of screws them up. What's the weakness in this coverage? I kind of I can kind of see both sides of it. And, really I was able to use that to my advantage in some ways.
Knowing what you know now, because the same thing happened to me. I started out on the offensive side, and I remember when I played semi-pro, the coach was like, "Hey, I want you to play punt returner," and I had never played punt return in my life, and I see why. When I got hit, it's a whole different ball game. And he said, "Well, I want to put you at, you know, the defense cornerback," and I was like, "Oh, I love this. I can hit versus
Yeah.
getting hit." But my question here is, playing both sides of the field and mastering both sides of the field, do you think now that players, to be more effective, should try to understand both sides of the field versus being a master of a jack of all trade, but really just a master of one?
Right. That's a really interesting question. For me, I think, especially as young kids, they should be able to play multiple positions, play running
Right.
back, play DB, play linebacker, uh, tight end, whatever. Play multiple positions, especially as young kids. Learning the game.
Mhm.
You're in high school, junior high. Yeah, be able to play both sides of the ball. I think it helps you. Now, as you get into college, yeah, you got to specialize.
Right.
I do believe specialization once you get to college. Once you get to a certain point.
Right.
But as young kids, play as many, because you never know what you're good at until
Right.
you try.
Right.
And if you come in and say, "Well, I just want to be a tight end," and you never try being a defensive end, you may be a better defensive end than you are a tight end.
Right.
But you don't know that because you haven't experienced, you haven't given yourself the experience of playing defensive end to realize that, what, this is actually really fun. A lot of times you come into situations where you're closed-minded about it and you're not willing to try new things and do new things. And you never figure out what you really what you're really capable of.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, young kids play and obviously, later on in life, yes, specialize. Yeah.
So you wind up playing in a smaller arena type football league, faster pace, but smaller confinement. You see multiple injuries are more prevalent in that league too. But
Correct.
when does the shift change for you? Like eventually you get to the NFL. What happens after you get into that stage of the arena football league? How does your journey keep going?
Well, it really just kind of continues along that track. So I played arena ball for a year, and then the XFL comes out the first year, the
Right.
first go around, not the first year, but the first go around, like 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And that's the Vince McMahon version of it, and it's the big production, and it's all of the stuff that goes in
This is
to
entertainment.
this is entertainment.
Yeah.
This is the XFL, and the games are in Vegas. They're on primetime TV, NBC, and it was really good. It was really good football.
Right.
Really, really good football. It was the
Was the
football was
money
good.
there? Was the money there like they did, like they hyped it up to be? Was the money really there?
The money, I mean, the money wasn't NFL money. The money was good for, I would say, for the 3 to 4 months that we did anything. I think we were making, for 3 4 months, we were making, 70, 75, something like that. There
Right.
was a win bonus if you won, it was another 2,500 or something to that effect. I don't remember, but for the time frame for 3 months, like it's pretty decent money,
Okay.
at that particular point in time, like I know when I went into corporate America working, 12 months a year, I was making what, I don't know, $2,600 a month or something like that.
Right.
It was basically, I was making, I went to UPS corporate in Atlanta, and I was making $1,600 a month, a little bit more than that,
Mm.
uh, it was like $1,600 a month and some change, that's what I was bringing home. And I'm like, man, like I'm struggling, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
so yeah. So was it the NFL money? No, but it was good money for the time of what we did. So
Okay. So you wind
yeah,
up playing in the in did how many how long was your stint in the XFL?
I just played that 1 year, and actually, I actually tore my knee up. That's the last time I played competitive. I tore my ACL, MCL, PCL all at the same time.
Oh,
Um,
I know that feeling.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, I ended up having surgery. I was down in Orlando when it happened. Matter of fact, we were actually in training camp when it happened. We were scrimmaging against the New York, New Jersey Hitmen. And I mean, I just hear my knee just like kind of just, it's like a sheet of paper tearing in my knee.
Yeah.
And I'm laying on the ground. My knee did something it's not supposed to do.
Right.
And they come in, they get me, and I go X-rays, MRI, and all that stuff, and then they read the X-rays to me, and the only thing I really remember from the doctor, reading the X-rays and the MRI report to me was, the last thing I remember was him saying, "You tore your ACL." I don't think I heard anything else after that. It
Right.
was like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah 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 wah. It was that type of moment for me.
Right.
Uh, so they fly me back to Birmingham, and I have surgery at Health South. That was the big, rehab center, surgery center. Dr. Andrews, Dr. Lee Mack, those were the big surgeons where everybody went to. So they did my surgery there, and then I went through the rehab process, and that was the last time I played any type of competitive football at that particular point in time. And
When did you now decide, okay, now you got to write another page in your chapter of life? When did the coaching bug set in for you?
well, the coaching bug, I don't, it really started kind of before that. And I don't know if it was bug, but the journey started before that. So
Okay.
when I left the RFL, there was a guy, James West. So James is a Hall of Famer in the CFL. And he was one of the coaches. I think he was the D-line coach. And he was there on the coaching staff. And he just he just took a liking to me for whatever reason, and he was like, "Man, you should coach, man. Like you're smart, you know everything, you can do this, you can do that." And I mean, he just took a liking to me, and we kind of talked a bunch, not always about football, just about life,
Right.
and so one day after the season, it's like this is 1999. He calls me just out of the blue. Season's over with. I'm at home in Birmingham, trying to figure out what's next. And he was like, "Hey man, I'm down here at Alabama State. I took the D line job at Alabama State. We're looking for a DB coach. Would you be interested?" And like, man, at the time I wasn't doing anything. Like, so why not? Montgomery's it's about an hour 15, maybe an hour and a half from my house. So I think I load up like the next day and just go down there.
Right.
They put me up in the dorm for a little bit, and they're getting ready to start training camp, and so I go down there and I coach for the season. And I coach, and I'm not gonna say I liked it. Like it was okay. I mean, it was a lot of long hours. It was good people, but it was a lot of long hours. It was just a different aspect of life or football than I was used to.
I was getting ready to
And
ask that, like, as an intern coach, your first time, and that's not make no light of the situation. You UBA is not a small, you know, washed out school. It's still competitive. And you
mhm.
now have a responsibility now to make sure that you bring your A game to these up and coming individuals. What was the hardest challenge for you? Because you said at first you felt this wasn't for you.
The hardest challenge, and I don't know if it was a hard challenge. It was just adjusting to the coaching lifestyle. To be honest with you,
The long
you know,
hours.
the long hours. As a player, you come in, you watch tape, you go to class, you do all the stuff that you need to do,
Right.
and then you go home. You
Right.
know, but in coaching, once the players go home, like you're still there for another couple hours. So I think the biggest thing has always been, in this profession is wasting time. you know, I'm very efficient about time and very particular about time. And I think, I mean, I started, my dad is military. I got a family full of military. So time has always been, important. If it's 9 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock. It's not 9:01, it's not 9:02, it's 9 o'clock.
Right.
So, when we time that frustrates me to uh probably to no end.
Right.
Um, I was you respect somebody's time because that shows respect for them as a person.
Right.
And that's probably always kind of my biggest pet peeve, even now, is when we waste time, because it's disrespect for my time, disrespect for me.
Okay.
And that's kind of the biggest pet peeve that I have, probably even to this day.
When you realize that coaching isn't that requires a lot more work, you have to stay after. What did you have to really understand more to master being a first time coach?
Well, I had to find my routine. That was the issue, was finding my routine. How do I break my day down? How do I plan for the next meeting or the meeting after that? How can I stay ahead? That was kind of, as a young coach, that you're kind of figuring it all out. You know,
Hmm.
how do you have a social life? How do you know how do you compartmentalize certain things? That was, as a young coach, that was the hardest part about coaching. You're trying to just figure it out. And I was fortunate, with people that were there, really, really good, got to know really good people, James West being one. Ron McCrone, who's passed away, he was the defensive coordinator. He really took a liking to me. So those guys, they were really helpful in some of that stuff. So I really enjoyed coaching there.
When you coached
You
the
know,
first game, what was that like? Because now this guy picked you for a reason. I know you didn't want to let him down, but what was that first game like for you when you literally had to take the field? You're not a player anymore. You're actually coaching. What was that like for you?
it was good. It was different though, because now you have to change your mindset and how you get ready for the game.
Hmm.
Like, for me, I'm super focused. I'm locked in on what things I'm looking for during the game. Like I'm big on about responsibilities. I'm big on, even coaching is all about eyes. When you're coaching the players, if you can't coach their eyes, you can't coach. You can't coach them, because their eyes tell them where to go, how to do it, whatever. What are they seeing?
Hmm.
So in coaching, it's the same way on the sideline during a game or during practice. What are you looking at? If you're looking at the wrong things, you don't see it. So I'm very intentional about coaching the eyes, and that's for me as a coach on the sideline, for the players when I'm coaching practice. What are you seeing? So that was the biggest thing, was getting my eyes right. You
Hmm.
know, uh, Knowing what to look at, when to look at it, and how to look at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How difficult was it for you your first year in coaching to have the players buy in to your coaching style? Because every coach has a particular style that they bring to the table. You said something that's unique. You want them to understand where your eyes are at. How difficult was it for them to adapt to that type of style?
It wasn't very, very difficult at all, to be honest with you. I think, for me, my overall coaching style is I want to be able to build relationships. I want to build trust.
Mm-hmm.
When there's trust that's built, like good, good things can happen when there's trust built.
Right.
When there's no trust, like bad things happen typically. So I just came in and I was me. I wasn't anybody. I didn't know how to be anybody. I didn't know, uh, what this coaching thing was going to be like. But I just came in and I was me. I was real with them. I was honest with them, and I think they saw that. They saw the genuineness in my conversation. They saw the genuineness in my thought, and we worked well together. We the players, we had a really good mesh, and I think that's been my coaching style throughout. Is I'm going to be me,
Right.
and I'm going to tell you the truth, and it's up to you if you accept it. Like we're going to be good. If you don't, we're probably not.
Right.
But when the players trust you and they realize like you can help them, especially in the NFL, if you can help them get to the next contract, get to a Pro Bowl, get to a Super Bowl, they're going to trust you and they're going to listen. Now they're in the league is a little bit different than college or high school,
Right.
where there might be a little bit back and forth because these guys get paid money just like you do. So
Right.
they'll come in and they'll watch tape on a Monday, Tuesday, and then come back in on Wednesday, and they'll have some preconceived ideas about this or that, or how come we can't do it this way. And sometimes for the player, if you got a really, really good player, you say, well, okay, all right, I can see what you're saying, but XYZ, this is, we want to do it this way because they have these set of plays over here that can get you. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, cool. And then sometimes it's like, okay, we can do it that way, but if it don't work, you're gonna go back to my way. So the league, there's
Right.
a little bit of, there's some give and take there,
Right.
and but I think that allows you to have that buy-in too when the players can feel like they have some ownership in it as well,
When the
because like
oppor- when the opportunity came for you to go to the NFL to coach, what do you think drew the NFL to you? Like, what made you now draw the attention to the NFL?
well, and really and truly, like there was a guy, Amos Jones. So when I was at Mississippi State, Amos was he was a coach there, and really, really good dude. He's really been instrumental in my career and my learning. But he left to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers as assistant special teams coach. But he was always like, hey, if I get an opportunity to run it the way I want to run it, be a coordinator, I'm going to bring you, And he stayed in touch. When the combine was in Indy, I was still at Mississippi State. He was like, hey, just get up here, Or I was at Tennessee State at one point too, which was like a 4-hour drive from Nashville. I mean, from
Mm-hmm.
Indianapolis. Nashville was like a 4-hour drive. And he was like, just come up here. You can stay in my room. Don't worry about food. Just get here. I got you. And so I would go up there and stay for the weekend, a couple of days, and network. He'd introduce me to people. And then finally, he got an opportunity to go be the special teams coordinator in Arizona with Bruce Arians.
Oh, wow.
And so he gets the coordinator's job. And basically, he was true to his word. He called me, offered me the position, and that was it, And now it helped, a lot of those connections. Like I knew, I knew Bruce. Bruce knew me. His son played with me at UAB.
Okay.
And so that was a mutual connection. Like Bruce wasn't on the speed dial at that particular point in time,
Now
but
he is.
now definitely now,
Yeah.
he's definitely speed down. So, but having that relationship, I think that's what helps. It's all, we're all in a relationship business, regardless of what we're doing. We're in a people business,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're good at what you do, you're respectful of people, like good things happen, and you don't know when those things happen. You don't know when the phone's going to ring with an opportunity on the other end of it.
Right.
But I think it's up to us individually is to do our job, be where our feet are, do our job, do it at a high level, and people take notice.
Right.
You know, and definitely, I mean, go out, network, meet people, and all that type stuff. But that's part of it. You know, like the Bible says, you know, faith without works is dead.
Mm.
So you can have all the faith you want to, but if you're not doing your part, if you're not excelling at your job, if you're not, you know, out networking, meeting people, being good to people, like it doesn't come back
You're
to
wasting it. Yeah, you're definitely wasting it. So
you. Yeah,
now the opportunity opens up for you in your journey. You're now in the NFL. Total different game change. We talked about this um off the camera. Now you're dealing with grown men. You're dealing with money, and like they say, you don't want to mess with people's money. How do you
mm-hmm.
what did what was some of the challenges that you had to deal with now going from different, because like you said, XFL, you got a little bit of money, but it's not the NFL money. Now you're dealing with egos, you're dealing with legends such as Aaron's, you're dealing with high power organizations like the Steelers, Cowboys, so forth. How does your game set change, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, you know what? You know, coming in my first year,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I mean, the thought of it is intimidating. Like, you know, you're going around and you're dealing with guys that are millionaires, like millionaires, like, you know, two and three times over. But once we got to the grass, got to the field, they came in for OTAs. I remember doing a simple drill, and it was a special teams drill. And Larry Fitzgerald, you know, future Pro Bowler, unbelievable human being. He's in my line doing this drill. I'm like, Larry, you're never gonna do this. Like, you're never gonna play this position. Like, get out of here. But the fact that he was in line doing it, it set the example for everybody else.
Right.
Like the highest paid player on the team is doing something that he's never gonna do. And he did those drills for, you know, maybe a week, you know, or so. You know, it wasn't just one day, it was a couple of days in a row he did them. And then finally, you know, got him out of the line, and you know, so you know, because at that point he's really just taking reps from somebody else, you know, because
Right.
he's not gonna do it. And I know that he knows that, but the fact that he got in the line and did it anyway said a lot about the culture that was there and the culture that Bruce built in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was instant buy-in, and that's just one example of that instant buy-in. So that, you know, when Larry, you know, kind of does that stuff, that made it easy. Like
Really?
from that point on, like it was, I mean, it was easy. It wasn't even an issue or a thought or anything like that. You know,
Were there ever a moment through your journey that you had to deal with a country, some type of conflict with a player that has money, or because eventually you're going to have some players going to challenge you. Money makes a person's ego feel like that they're better than you, but you still are the person that has the authority. You are the coach. And we see that now happening in the NFL where players come off and they're arguing with the coach and blah, blah, blah. I mean, to me, that was something that was never heard of. You didn't argue with the coaches.
right? So I think it comes down to who the player is and the relationship that you have with them. And the position that I've been in, you know, a lot of it's been special teams. I do have defensive background, you know, coaching, you know, working with DBs, working with D line or outside linebackers. You know, some of that happens, and some of it is the competitive nature of the game. You know, the heated part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, but you know how I look at it is your colleagues. You really are coaches and players in the league. They're colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're coworkers, and so there is some back and forth. Whereas the player on the field, like you worked all week to build to this game, and we're gonna play this technique. We're gonna do it this way, and then you know at the game everybody's on board. By the time the game starts, everybody's on board. Then on the flip side of it, guess what? The other team, they've said we're going to do it different. They're going to do something different than what we done on tape. Blah 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 blah. And then you get on the field, and it's like we said we're going to do it this way. Well, coach, it's not this way. You know, they're playing a 6 technique. You know, we talked about a 9 technique all week. You know, and so that's some of the back and forth that happens during a game
Mhm.
where the coaches have to, you know, you have to build trust, and coaches have to trust the players that there's, you know, that they're being honest and seeing what they see on the field. And then, okay, it's a 6 technique. All right, now we've got to go back and adjust. You know, it's a constant game of moving pieces. It's a chess game all the way across the board, where it's just moving pieces all the way through the game. And that's where trust, you know, like we tell players all the time, don't lie to me. Like, tell
Right,
me what you saw and be honest. Because
right.
the worst thing to do is make an adjustment based off false information, and you come back on Monday, you watch the tape. He told me he was in a 6. He's in a 9. You know, and it's like, you know, you know, then everything all, you know, then it's all bad at that point, you know. But that's why trust is so important. You gotta have trust. If you don't have trust, you have nothing.
Now you wind up, excuse me, you wind up returning to school as well to get your PhD, and you get your PhD. How much of that PhD knowledge, because you clearly said knowledge changes a lot, and if the wrong kind of information going on the football field can lead to catastrophic things happening, injuries, misplay, blown playoff appearance, the whole 9 yards. You're a doctor. How much is that now do you bring to the coaching field?
I think I bring lot of it to it, you know, because it's all about teaching, it's all about education. Uh, you know, so you know, my doctorate is in instructional systems and workforce development. So, you know, the instructional system, just, you know, without going into great depth about it,
Mhm.
is using, you know, technology to teach, whether that's software programs, websites, different things like that. So that's what coaching is teaching. It's
Mhm.
educating, and using all the tools around you to do it as efficiently as you can. The workforce development side of it, like I said, without going into great detail, is, you know, going into a business and looking at your business and seeing how efficiently or inefficiently your business runs.
Right,
So so I think it all goes into what I do.
right.
You know, like I'm you know, I took the job in the XFL. So part of me in this deal is you know, the spring league. I'm looking at it from a lens. Part of the lens I'm looking at it is, okay, is this thing running efficiently? How can it
Right,
run better? You know,
right,
what could we do without? What could we add? So I'm always kind of in that train of thought,
right.
of what can be done. So I think it, you know, I bring it all. It's always part of me. So I'm always bringing it to the table
You
from that
know what? You
aspect.
know what, Doc? I'm going to ask you a serious question. You shouldn't have said that. You're in the league. You've seen the different organizations. We talked about this off camera before we wrap up, but I'm gonna pick your brain right now because you mentioned the key word developmental.
Mhm.
In the NFL, we see this outrageous, out of control spending and spending in non-performance. Um, I know this is hypothetical, but I know you've seen it. Based on your degree, business development, what do you think needs to change in with a team to make a team, let's not say better, but run efficiently, or the league itself to run efficiently? Because I get it. We mentioned life is like a game of chess. I play life like a game of chess. I need to know what pieces I need to get rid of, which pieces that are more powerful. But you're dealing with a mega organization where, let's get real, the Cowboys is the number one marketing team, no matter if they fail or whatever. But
Mhm.
how do you make the playing field even to where you don't have this it's all about me syndrome? I want to get paid. And then you have a situation like with Odell Beckham where he goes to the Ravens and clearly he underperformed. You know, 2 catches, 4 catches, and then you don't show up for the biggest game that, what is your take on all that?
Well, I think each organization is different. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's different. Everybody has a different organizational philosophy, and that doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong in
Right.
that sense. Uh, in my time in the league, I've been in two organizations, so I don't have a full grasp of all 32 teams, if that
Right.
makes sense. Uh, but I do think that the elements that are successful teams have, they have really good leadership. It starts from the top. Leadership. They have a great culture. They have great culture, with on the business side and on the football side.
Mm-hmm.
And then how you treat players, like how you, or not just players, but people within the organization. Uh, you know, I feel like as a leader, like I've got to be able to touch everybody in the organization. I've got to figure out what's going to make this person tick, what's going to make this person go, what's going to turn this person off, what is this person's end goal, and how can I help them achieve their end goal? And if I can do that and show up and build a personal relationship with this person, guess what? They're going to give me far more than what I'm able to give them.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are some of the elements that make a organization work, function at a high level, I should say.
You're doing so much for the community. Tell the viewers a little bit about what you're doing now for the community, and more importantly, how can they reach out to you for more information and even to listen to your story?
Well, I'm here in Dallas, so obviously, I was with the New York Giants, left the New York Giants to take a head job in the XFL, which is now the UFL now. So there's an organization I work with, or I wouldn't say work with, but kind of a partnership with some things I've done. Shoes That Fit. Um,
Okay.
it's a good organization. They're actually based out of California, but they do stuff nationwide. Um, and what they do is they donate shoes to kids or people that don't have. I was just at an event about a month ago here in Dallas where they donated about 300 300 shoes, Nike, Reebok, Adidas, to kids from this particular school, uh, and the smiles on those kids' faces, they got new shoes. It was amazing. And and I'll say this, how I got involved in the organization was through Janice Ward. So Janice was she was at UAB, and her son was a basketball player at UAB at the same time that I was there, Tory Ward. And I believe it was the 2016 Final Four. It was played in Indianapolis, and he was coaching at, I forget, it was Illinois State or Indiana State. And after the game, it was raining, whatever, storming, whatever. He, got on a plane, and the plane crashed and passed away. So she started working with this organization to kind of honor Tory and his memory. And so I started kind of, donating to her, and then started, getting more information about it, this organization, and just kind of the people there and what they do. It kind of impacts me in that way. So, but like I said, I'm here in Dallas, and you can reach out to me on, uh, you know, email, which is, my email is dr.anthonyblevins@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to get me. Uh, so yeah, so I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good conversation. I really enjoyed being here and being a part of the show.
Leave the viewers, Anthony. You definitely have that beast mindset, and I personally like to thank you for taking time out to come on the show as well. Leave the viewers with something that keeps you going every single day of your life.
What keeps me going is the opportunity to be a better person today than I was yesterday. Simply put, yeah, just let's be better as people, as men, as women, as children, better today than we were yesterday.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. Show.